Hey guys, Scott here, and today I want to talk about the perception of Dead by Daylight's community as being like the most toxic community ever in any game. And this is a very common sentiment that a lot of people see if you've ever gone to any forums, any common threads, Steam forums, Reddit, anywhere. The general consensus is that DBD's community is incredibly toxic. And this started because I read the review from IGN about Dead by Daylight. They released an updated review because obviously the game is way different than it was back then. And I think that's totally fair to re-review a game like that. And while I disagree with the review because they gave him a 9, which this game's not a 9, it's just simply not good enough. It's a fun game, don't get me wrong. A game can be fun without being good or well made. But Dead by Daylight is not really a well put together game, so I definitely wouldn't agree with a 9. But it's still a fun, very unique game, so I understand it, but I don't necessarily agree. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is the responses to the review brought up this common sentiment that people share. And I'll just go over a couple of them. I mean, you don't really have to scroll very far at all. Like, immediately, the game is toxic as fuck. Game is toxic as fuck. Game is toxic. The most toxic community out there. Like, this is not a rare mindset. This is what I would almost say the majority of people think. People think for some reason Dead by Daylight has the most toxic community out there, like out of any game. And I have to say, if you think Dead by Daylight has the most toxic community out of any game out there, I have to ask if you have ever played another video game on the internet ever. Because that is so incredibly not even close to true. Like, have you ever played League of Legends? Have you ever played any MOBA ever? God, Warcraft 3 was even worse because there was no, like, auto-ban system for, like, God, that was terrible. And then, like, have you ever played any Call of Duty game? Have you ever played Modern Warfare before? Modern Warfare 2? Lobbies? Holy shit. You ever been in an old Halo lobby? You ever been in, like, an old Xbox Live lobby? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Dead by Daylight is not even close to how bad some gaming communities can get. It's not even close. And you know what? I think the actual reason is that people say this is that people have just sort of lost sight of what toxic actually means. I think the world overall has gotten softer as it's gotten, more modern, which is good and bad. It's good because, yeah, back in the day, there was some pretty intolerant shit. Like in high school, I would call people like, the F slur, because we didn't even comprehend that it was like a socially like, all right, this word's actually fucking people up. You shouldn't be saying that. We just didn't even understand that. So the world was definitely more intolerant back then. And one of the positives about the world getting a bit more soft is that it gets more accepting. And that stuff goes away, which means a lot less people are, having their hearts broken, which is great. However, the negative side of it is that people start making up things to justify calling them toxic. They will basically just say like, I don't like this thing, so it's toxic. And just like, it's not really cancel culture, but it's the same sort of mindset where you just basically make up your own rules for what like toxicity is. And then you just get mad at people because you don't really like what they're doing. It's completely different from joining, a Modern Warfare lobby and saying like, hearing a guy tell you to kill yourself and he hopes you get raped. Like that was common. That was a very common thing. I've been playing online games pretty much since online games came out. I'm fucking old. And I can tell you Dead by Daylight is not even like, it's not even on the radar. It's just nothing. It's just so not even close to how bad some game communities can get. And a lot of this comes from the fact that the community is not toxic, like at all. Yeah, every once in a while you will get a guy that's like, yelling racial slurs in post-game chat, tells you to kill yourself, all that, wonderful, horrible shit. But that's rare. How often do you see that? I pretty much never see that. Maybe 1 out of every 500 games I see that. In fact, it's such an exciting event on our stream when it happens because, like, it just never happens. It's like seeing a unicorn. Even people getting salty in my post-game lobbies. The worst thing they'll say is, like, nice tunnel. And I'll say, okay, GG. And then we just leave, and that's the end of it. Like, I think the thing is, Dead by Daylight's community is not toxic. It is entitled, which is a huge, huge, huge difference. Entitlement basically is that people make up their own rules in this game and get mad when people don't follow the rules that they just made up. which is not even close to toxic. That's just you being a fucking idiot. It reminds me of Dark Souls a lot, actually. Because back in Dark Souls, when you would invade somebody, if you're not familiar with Dark Souls, you can invade other people's single-player games and try to kill them, basically, as an invader. And so many people had these rules. Like, if you invade them with the intention to kill them and you didn't, like, bow before the duel or wait for them to clear the area first, they would get mad and send you hate mail. Which just blew my fucking mind, because I'm an invader there to kill you. I don't give a shit what rules you have just made up. I don't care. Like, that's not even the point of what I'm supposed to be doing. That's not even what the game is designed for me to be doing right now. I'm just supposed to be trying to kill you in any way possible. And so that reminds me a lot of the Dead by Daylight community. As you know, there's a killer rulebook and a survivor rulebook. If you don't follow the rulebook of the persons you're playing against, then suddenly you're toxic now. And that's it. Like, I don't think that tunneling or camping is toxic. I don't think clicking a flashlight, body blocking, or teabagging is toxic. Those are just things you're doing in a game to try to win. And yes, teabagging I include in that, because for some reason, if you press control more than twice, some killers just like they just freak the fuck out, and it's like doing a taunt in World of Warcraft. They just only go for you. So it's actually a thing that is an effective strategy for some fucking reason. I don't understand why, but those things are not toxic at all. Now, at the end of the game, if they say, kill yourself, I hope you get raped, F-slur, then yeah, that's toxic, and that is rare. That doesn't just happen. Like, I never see that shit on my stream. If you guys watch my stream, how often have you seen that? I watch other people's streams. Like, how often do you see that? I watch, like Otz and Zubad. I never see them say this shit, ever. It just doesn't happen. Now, I'm not saying it never happens. I'm just saying it's so rare that to attribute the community as being the most toxic out of any in gaming because of, like, the 1 out of 500 games where you get a guy that actually is like that and worthy of being banned. Like, come on, that's just disingenuous. That's not even fair. But the reason people still think this is because of the whole entitlement issue. They think if they get face camped that the game is toxic. They think if, they get tunneled off the hook that the game is toxic. If someone uses a flashlight or body blocks, then the game is toxic. I'm telling you right now, that's not toxic. That is you being a whiny little entitled bitch. Stop doing that. It's making the perception of the game way worse than it actually is. And this is something that happens in a lot of games. And in every game that this happens, it's just cringy, dumb shit. People bought the game. They can do whatever the hell they want. As long as they're not, exploiting or holding you hostage or breaking an established rule of the game, pretty much anything can go. Now, yeah, you can get frustrated at it. It's not fun getting camped. It's not fun getting tunneled. It's not fun getting body blocks, survive with friends, all the good stuff. None of that's fun to go against. But that's the nature of how the game's asymmetrical. Each side has really annoying shit that they can do. Not really with the purposes of being toxic, but because it gives them an advantage to win their respective goal in the match. And that's basically it. Now, there are some things you can do. Like, probably the only thing I can think of that would be like just a little drop of toxicity would be like a killer throwing a match to down one guy as a slug and make him waste 4 minutes just bleeding out on the ground and not just ignoring everything else. That would be like, man, come on. See, if that happened to me, though, I would be flattered that I pissed the killer off so much that he decided to do that. That wouldn't bother me at all, but I could understand that being perceived as a bit toxic because then you're like actually wasting a person's time, which is a little different. But still, all these things, in my opinion, are not toxic. They're just, it's just entitlement. A lot of this comes down to just entitlement. I have a whole another video on my channel about player entitlement and how I think that's the central cause of perceived toxicity, but just let me end the rant here by saying, if you think this game is the most toxic gaming community out there, you have not seen shit, man. You have no idea how incredibly shitty some gaming communities were and still are. So I think it would be nice if we stopped saying this, and we can talk about the entitled aspect because that is a problem with the game for sure. But I mean, stop calling it toxic. It's not even close. That's it, guys. See you later.